You're watching Force 13's live streaming service. The topic is Cyclone Batsirai, which is intensifying again right now with winds estimated of 80 miles per hour, that's 130 kilometers per hour, and a central pressure of 982 millibars. That is from the latest advisory from Meteo France. JTWC with similar numbers as we continue to track this tropical cyclone as it draws closer to Mauritius and Rodrigues. Now, it just occurred to me very shortly before we started this stream today that Class 1 warnings are in effect for Rodrigues, but I've not had time to write it down on the bottom bar, so it won't appear on the screen, but just thought I'd let you know. Class 1 warnings for the island of Rodrigues. However, it is outside of the cone, but if the storm does track towards the southern part of the cone, then the island will get tropical storm force winds. My name is Nathan Foy here in the studio as we continue to watch this storm approaching the Mascarene Islands. I'm joined by my team in this hour of discussion. We have Isaac, John, Kenneth, Ethan, Alfiria and Thomas Schwent. Hello and good morning in some of your cases there, and good day to you all.
Hello.
Good morning.
Yeah, good morning, Nathan. It's been
Good
a
evening
bit of a
here.
morning. Yeah.
Good morning. It's cold and I hate everything.
Indeed, including this storm, I would imagine. Throughout this stream today, you can send us your questions once again. Start your message with Force 13 all in text, and we'll be able to take them live on the air. Well, first let's talk to Thomas there, who's appearing up there on the screen. What's your thoughts on this storm over the last 2 days? Because it had that crazy start and now it's starting again.
Yeah, well, it got rather strong. I know that it became a high-end Category 2, didn't it? About 105, 110 miles an hour per minute sustained, which is something that we do have to clarify these days. But yeah, no, it then it kind of went downward in intensity pretty quickly, and now it's starting that rapid intensification phase again. My thoughts are, the conditions went downhill for it a little bit. The wind shear spiked up a bit. It took it out, got up to around 15, 20 knots, which when you have a storm this small is significantly more than they would like. But at this point, I think it's got a well enough established structure that intensification is the name of the game now from here until it levels off in a couple of days or so as it heads towards Mauritius and La Réunion.
Now, the storm's expected, according to JTWC, to get to Category 3 status, I think it is. And the model forecasts have been all over the place over the last few days, and the officials and whatnot. Do you think this is going to be more locked in now?
I think that this is a more locked-in forecast than the previous one, assuming nothing unexpected happens. The wind shear is going to drop, actually, a bit. I don't know, I'd say about 18 hours from now. And that's when you're really going to get to see this storm go boom. And then after that, in terms of intensity, I think that we're pretty confident that we're going to have a strong storm, probably nearing the threshold, if not exceeding the threshold, of a major cyclone, Category 3 plus, on the Saffir-Simpson scale. I think there's pretty high confidence in that. In terms of track, it's been wobbling a bit. I think that Rodrigues is pretty safe from a landfall, but you're still going to get some impacts, hence the Class 1 warnings. But in terms of Mauritius, La Réunion, and Madagascar, all three of those land areas need to be watching this closely. There's a lot of uncertainty with where exactly it's going to track and how close it's going to get, but I think we are confident in a rapidly strengthening storm.
So you said that wind shear is forecast to drop, Schwent, right?
Correct.
I honestly don't know about that because models are once again saying that shear's going to rise again to 20-25 knots through
Hmm.
slowly towards the 5-day period. But they said that 2 days ago, and yet wind shear
Yep.
only got up to 15 knots. So really,
Um,
we don't really know what's going to happen.
No, we don't. And again,
um,
there's a lot of uncertainty here because we don't have on-the-ground observations of these things.
Two things. So, there's seem to be more something unexpected or more uncertain thing in Southwest India. First thing is, well, Strength just mentioned that there's very few ground observations that facilitate initialization things which worsen the forecast certainty. And the second thing is, I'll just share the screen. Oh, wait a minute.
Okay.
1, 2, 3. Here we go. So it says, deep layer shear. What deep layer shear means is just simply 800, the modulus of 850 millibar wind minus 200 millibar winds to get the shear. There are two things
We're not
that
getting your screen here, Kenneth. For some reason, it's not loading in.
uh-oh.
It
Well,
does happen
I'll
quite a
just
lot. Try again for us, would you?
While you get that sorted out, I should note that Mateo France is forecasting a peak at their final point right now of 10 minutes sustained winds of 100 knots. That's 115 miles per hour. When you translate that into 1 minute sustained winds, that is a low end category 4 on the Saffir-Simpson scale. So certainly that is pretty notable.
Certainly is. Let's see if we can get Kenneth's stream working now. No, not sometimes. Oh, there it goes. Sometimes this
Alright.
happens.
Okay, I just switch to another laptop and I will do it again.
In any case, before we get there once again, there was a question there that just came in that I may as well take from Cringy Fun, who says, what do you think will happen with Batsirai? What do you think it will peak as? Some people have been saying outlandish things in the comments already today. What are your guys' thoughts? Kenneth, first of all.
Okay, so it's currently it is this category 1 pretty much. The certainty range of that is still decent because it's not yet the pinhole stage yet. When is it the pinhole stage? It just lag. Well, it just can easily be lag behind because of its very rapid intensification in the first week, but this time it has some struggling stage. It goes up more gradually because of the more moderate shear environment. But there is one thing you can see here. Can you see the satellite here?
Yep.
Yeah. So let's go for loop first. So what it is for Batsirai is although shear it is rather high. Once the first peak's over, it just rapidly weakened back to like a 45 knot tropical storm 1 minute sustained. However, the reason why Batsirai weakens very rapidly is because the shear and the dry air is from the mid-level, which mid-level environment affects a tropical cyclones the most. And once the mid-level shear goes down and the shear mainly goes for the upper level, there's something called an unexpected rapid intensification of the moderate wind shear, which is currently what Batsirai is doing. You can see a very apparent shear line at the eastern side of the storm, which indicate a northeasterly shear. But as you see, since yesterday, like 24 hours ago, it has been roping up shear from the north and northeastern side, which is the up shear direction. the convection rotates against the shear, which protects the storm, as well as it also facilitates intensification. It is something that is recently well known that a moderate shear under some circumstances can actually ramp up a storm pretty quickly, which Batsirai right now is pretty much the case. While it will intensify like one category per 6 hours, I'll say something we'll see. I'll say we'll see something like category 4 after 24 hours, based on the current things. Yeah, because this deep-layer shear well.
Well, hold on. You're saying that it could get to category 4 in 24 hours, was that?
Yes.
Blimey.
Yes, because you can see the shear. Well, the shear, the environment after. Well, the overall environment is not so bad. You can see the shear, like the 20 knot barbs, it's also in the very upper level, like 200 millibars-ish, which is some very high level stuff that doesn't do up too much to the storm. It can just intensify pretty smoothly, because it's also expected that shear is going to drop in the next few days. As it reaches north of Mauritius and Rodrigues, if I remember correctly. Yes.
Yep.
Before you may say shear is going to rise, but still not sure if that's going to be the true mid shear, or it also just a high level shear which doesn't do too much to the storm again, or Batsirai may expand in day 3 to 5 period, which makes it more resistant to shear. This is the thing, because when you see when Ethan says shear is going to increase, excuse me. As what I just said, deep layer shear is just a simple subtraction of the modulus of 850 millibar wind factor minus 200 millibar wind factor, which ignores something the most crucial, like 400 to 600 millibars, like the mid-level, which, as I said, mid-level conditions affect or worsen tropical cyclones intensity the most, which this deep layer shear just totally ignores it, which makes it less reliable, especially in this case, like poor initialization.
Well, clearly.
And neglection of mid-level data, which can cause a worsening forecast certainty, and even some nowcasting.
So essentially, not the full picture being shown by the shear forecasts.
Indeed.
So that is at least part of the explanation why this storm has intensified so, with wind shear values being lower. Please continue to send in your questions live on the air. Start your message with Force 13 all in text. There's one. Will Batsirai worsen the effect of the floods Anna caused a few days ago? Well, by the time it gets over there, we'll have to see which part of Madagascar it affects. We still don't really know, although trending southwards now, so it could be a case of something different happening. Just also like to point out at the bottom of our screen there it shows as well, and we always like to mention that our updates regarding Mauritius and the general area in the Southwest Indian Ocean are conducted in partnership with Meteo a Cyclone Maurice, and you can find them on Facebook and YouTube. They are producing regular updates on the ground in Mauritius. And a hello to the team if you're watching. Now let's go to Ethan, if you're available. Your thoughts on the storm now?
Well, it's certainly been an interesting watch, I guess you could say. I know that that Kenneth just made a lot of points which probably made absolutely zero sense to the viewers, but that's fine.
Nice.
But out of respect of that, personally, Kenneth, I just go with a conservative 110 knot peak for the storm right now, just simply out of uncertainty. because with wind shear that's not incredibly low with this, and it's sort of moderate, I guess you could say, where it's still favorable for intensification but not terribly high. It's better to be on the conservative side of things. That's just what I'm thinking, of course, and that might change, but certainly this storm does pose a significant threat to land masses as it does put off towards the west. Mateo France is forecasting an intense tropical cyclone out of this. And one key message that I know that we haven't really talked about a lot is right now this storm is it's moving at a pretty decent pace. But when this storm gets closer and closer to Madagascar, we are expecting it to slow down substantially, and which could even exacerbate the rainfall aspect of things even further. And I should know that long-range models are depicting potentially another system behind this affecting islands again, so certainly that is also possible. So maybe a double threat coming up.
I did see that, and several storms forming in the South Indian Ocean in the next few days, according to the GFS at least, next week. But we'll leave that for another time. More questions or comments even. Cool Creeper Ryan says it looks like the eye is starting to try and pop out again. Isaac, any thoughts on this? You're monitoring the storm. You're looking at all that satellite imagery right now.
Well, I'm not too confident in saying that just now. Obviously, there's been a new blow-up of convection on the northern part of the central dense overcast, the CDO of a system, which is right where my cursor is right there, if we can see it. Certainly, though, on the intensification trend, as others have noticed in the stream, and I've just been taking a look at the infrared imagery here as I've been waking up, seeing how the storm's been doing, and it's, despite the adverse conditions it's been facing over the past few hours, still trying to intensify here, which is really concerning, given that it's not in its peak, like, optimal conditions right now for it to be intensifying, and it's trying to do it right now as we speak. So certainly a really bad sign already. One thing I wanted to note really quickly as well is what I was seeing in the newest model runs, is once it makes landfall in Madagascar, after it comes back over open waters, models are having it re-intensify again, as it potentially may threaten Mozambique later down the line. So it's after it passes Madagascar, it's not fully done here, and maybe going for a second round perhaps after it goes back over open waters. But that's kind of far down the line here. But just wanted to note that I thought that was rather curious how the models are now kind of picking up on it, intensifying again after making landfall Madagascar.
But
regardless,
Isaac, those are
system.
ensembles, and only about half of them actually make it across the island. Some of them, I mean, the other half are going southwards or stalling all over the place.
I mean, yeah, you get stuff like this. It's just, but hopefully it doesn't decide to do that. But that's certainly a possibility out of the many that there could be. Obviously, we don't know the exact area that the storm might make landfall. It could make landfall on the northern tip of Madagascar. It could make landfall on the southern tip of Madagascar. It could just defy all odds and just stay away from Madagascar and just loop-de-loop up north over here for all we know. But confidence is increasing, though, for a intense landfall on Madagascar.
Autobus MHD, thank you very much for your support this afternoon. Nice of you to join us as well. Will there be Class 2 warnings in Mauritius? A question there from Yuvan Singh.
Probably later down the line.
Yes, I think so. I'm not sure when that would be. Probably 2 days from now, 1.5 days maybe. And are we going to talk about Anna's remnants in southern Angola? They are still present in Africa. I did have a little nosy at the GFS simulated infrared imagery, and it just dies out before getting anywhere near the Atlantic before any of you crazies start thinking about that. So, yeah, not much to talk about regarding that, really. So to reiterate, this storm's wind speed right now, 80 miles per hour, at least according to Meteo France, 130 kilometers per hour. So that's 1 minute sustained winds after conversions, with a central pressure of 982 millibars.
GTWC is actually in agreement with that, actually. They also have 80.
Yep.
For once.
And it's still a pretty small storm. Not as small as it has been, but its diameter, when you look at the core of it, is probably about 250 kilometers, which isn't really very much.
I mean, the hurricane force wind field is smaller than what it was at peak. It's only
Kidding?
5 nautical miles. Yeah.
That is tiny.
Yeah.
At peak it was 10. And now it's at 5.
For reference,
Very
for anybody who was tracking the hurricanes of 2018, Burrow had a hurricane force wind field of, if memory serves me right, 15 or 10 miles.
That
So,
was
pretty
bigger than
tiny.
this? What?
What?
Yeah, if I remember correctly, it was
Oh, that
had
was
it had a
absolutely
hurricane
tiny.
radius. And it had a radius of 10, 15 miles an hour. I mean, miles an hour, miles.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, but that-
just
but that-
because
that- that
you
wind-
saw how tiny it was.
That wind field is probably going to remain somewhat small for the next 2 days. But once you really get beyond that 2-day period, the storm's size is going to expand probably pretty significantly. And it'll probably double, triple, or maybe even quadruple in its current size now. It's going to get massive as it approaches Madagascar, and that'll only make it affect a wider area, of course.
This is, of course, making the assumption, and I think it's a safe one, that we're going to get a few IWO replacement cycles throughout this storm's life cycle as it does move towards Madagascar. That's probably
that'll
going to
only
be the
make it bigger.
major
At
force
least one
in
is
making
likely.
it larger.
Yeah, and
At least it-
that'll only make it bigger.
Yes.
A question from Jeffroli. How about the nor'easter in Maine? And they got some snow there. Thomas, do you want to plug the US stream coming up tonight?
Absolutely, yeah. We're actually going to be live on the US channel to talk all about this from 2 o'clock Central, 3 o'clock Eastern to 5 o'clock Central, 6 o'clock Eastern this afternoon. So make sure that you're over there. We're going to be covering this. We're also going to have a rather extensive winter weather update coming out in just a few hours here, about 3 hours' time. And that'll give you a good idea of what's going on as well. But we're keeping an eye on that nor'easter. Big snow total so far, over a foot in Long Island already. So, yeah, we're going to be keeping a close eye on that. But right now, we're going to be talking about this pretty major cyclone that's going on. And yeah, you can head over to the US channel for the latest on the nor'easter.
Well, I'm glad I'm not over there. I can only say that much. But let's go look back at Kenneth's screen, showing some more imagery as well. General movement, would you say, is it due west or no? A little bit of a northerly element.
A bit north, like 0.1 north per 6 hour, but generally a westward movement, nearly 1 degree per 6 hour.
Some more questions coming in there. Is Felicia smaller, or is this smaller, from our own Walter?
This is actually pretty much smaller than Felicia. Felicia was actually a lot bigger than this. Wasn't terribly big, but this is still quite a way smaller.
Like just one thing similar to Felicia, one more thing similar. Apart from is their small sizes, they both this one likely intensify significantly under moderate wind shear. Felicia did that as well.
Great. So that's something that they have in common there. And what are the chances that Batsirai will reach Category 4 status? I think those chances are increasing. Kenneth, you said that it could happen in 24 hours. Do you think it will happen in 24 hours? The way you were talking
I
before?
think it is likely. I think it's likely for 20.
I'd give
and
it
I wanna see
probably.
this.
I'd give it 20%. in 24 hours, but overall during its entire track life, I'd probably give it 35%.
Oh dear.
Like,
Okay.
Well, because I'm not really that confident in much in this storm right now, given the uncertainty factors.
There's definitely some uncertainty, but I do
There is.
think that there is an argument to be made. If the conditions pan out to be the way that they currently look like they're going to, there is no reason to believe that this will not be an upper end tropical cyclone in terms of intensity within the next day. Like your category 3 or 4. I'm certainly thinking category 3 or 4 within the next day if things continue. And no, if things continue the way they're going, we'll have a category 4. I'm pretty confident by the time we head into the day 3, day 4 time frame for sure.
CJ, thanks for your message. I'm not going to read it on the air because it's not really related to us, but that's great to hear, at least right now. But yeah, the US stream coming up tonight. But over here we've got Batsirai, which, as you can see, the current satellite presentation, it's outside of the Himawari 8 zone now, unfortunately, so the imagery is a little bit of a step down. But still, we've got decent satellites all around the world now.
Oh yeah.
So, overshooting tops there, Isaac, what temperature are those?
Oh god, that's a good question. I haven't even taken a look at that. Give me a moment.
Well into the minus 80s.
Oh,
No,
without a doubt,
90.
there's.
Really?
Negative 91.
There you go.
Quite impressive.
Yeah, that big burst in the northern quadrant there is really probably only to help it tighten up and intensify here overnight. Certainly impressive. And here's a look at the visible imagery before the sunset. How it really got its act together throughout the day, and it's continuing that, obviously, overnight there in the southwestern Indian Ocean.
In a few moments, I'll boot up my WSV3 and show everyone what the models are saying, what the GFS is saying for the whole world in the next few days. Because we like to do that on our storm streams. But for the time being, any comment about how the cones differ between the agencies? Met France taking it quite far south in the late part of the cone.
Yeah, the cones from the two agencies are actually surprisingly similar. Both of them have, in the day 3 to 4 time frame, the outer periphery of tropical storm force winds, getting to Mauritius and La Réunion, assuming that the track goes through the center of their cone. Although, again, there is a strong possibility that's not the case. Both agencies also showing a possibility of a direct landfall in La Réunion and Mauritius. The biggest difference is that the JTWC slows down the cyclone a bit sooner, and as a result, you don't have the storm quite as close to Madagascar at the end of the period as Mateo France. And the other major difference is that, yeah, you're absolutely right, Mateo France also takes a dip southward that the JTWC does not. So overall, in terms of intensity, both agencies are in good consensus that we're going to be seeing a major cyclone with Mateo France at Category 4 peak and JTWC at Category 3, mid-range to upper-end Category 3, with low-end Category 4 from Mateo France. But both agencies, I think the consensus here is that if you're in Mauritius, La Réunion, or the eastern side of Madagascar, east central Madagascar, you need to be watching this storm closely. And if you're in Rodrigues, you still need to be watching this closely as well. As tropical storm force winds could certainly be knocking on your doorstep within the next day or two if this takes the southern end of the track.
Absolutely, don't forget that the center of the storm could move anywhere within the cone. If the center of the storm was to be at the southern edge of the cone tomorrow at where are we? Monday morning, then tropical storm force winds would be felt on Rodrigues and possibly nearing 50 knot winds. And of course, it would mean a landfall for Mauritius and La Réunion. But it could, of course, deviate the other direction as well. The JTWC cone is even larger. It's a huge cone. And I'm still not sure whether it's true, but I think the JTWC cone is such that it accounts for all tropical storm force winds.
That's correct. Yes.
Yeah. So basically, tropical storm force winds could be felt anywhere within that cone. And they, on their current forecast, I think, have a substantially larger wind field, do they? Well, a little bit larger overall on the southern side. Mauritius and Reunion well and truly within that on their forecast. But right now, 80 miles per hour, 130 kilometers per hour, JTWC with gradual intensification all the way up to Category 3 on day 5. Reunion looks gradual as well. They don't indicate the numbers on their graphic, but I assume on the text that's what they're doing as well.
Yeah,
So
they're doing a
currently
slower
on
intensification phase. Go on, Ethan.
currently on my screen, Nathan. I've done it to the best of my ability, but I've actually gone and combined the JTWC's and Mateo France's forecast cone.
That is interesting.
Wanna have
Hold
a
on,
look at
let's
this?
get a close-up on this.
So, can you see my mouse on the screen, by the way?
Yes.
Okay, so this is the storm's current position right now, and they have pretty fair agreement that in 24 hours, and then 48-hour points you get a little bit more difference. Then when you get towards their day 3 points here, starts to get a little bit more more outwards. Mateo France's day 4 point is right here. Meanwhile, the JWC is a little bit farther off towards the east, and their day 5 points are pretty massive differences right there. That's certainly an interesting forecast, and the JTWC's day 5 point is actually where Mateo France has their day 4 point at.
If the storm does move more slowly like that, then that would favour a track towards the north.
Yeah.
I'd say that Mateo France's forecast right now is more so heavily in favor of what the Euro is showing. But I think that the JTWC might be in the right here. I'm not really sure. We'll have to wait and see what happens with this, though.
So I received a English text file for Material France discussion on this from Batsirai. Well, I'll just read it out, especially this. No significant change in the track philosophy. Batsirai continues its track towards west-northwest while slowing down slightly. The system is driven by steering flow generated by subtropical ridge. From Sunday, the strengthening of the high geopotentials south of Madagascar should bend the trajectory towards west-northwest, then west, while the system will drift near the east of the Mascarenes with a trajectory passing north of Rodrigues on Monday. In addition, the establishment of a ridge of high pressure near the equator to the northeast of the system early next week could temporarily generate contradictory steering flows, thus marking early next week a little more uncertainty on the forecast trajectory. From Tuesday, Batsirai should curve its track to the southwest, north of the sister islands, due to a weakening of subtropical ridge south of Madagascar. A strong dispersion is still present in the ensemble forecast, hence a strong uncertainty on the timing and distance of passage near the inhabited lands of the Mascarene archipelago.
Yep, thank you for that. And you're also showing us a graphic as well.
Yeah, that is the steering layer of 200, 700 millibars, which is something higher level. But that gives you a good rule of thumb that like where the synoptics is, and pretty decent for initialization use actually. which kind of affects something that facilitate reading the discussion of official agencies.
Okay.
I've got a loop. I've got a loop
Yes.
of the storm up on my screen right now, Kenneth, and looks like it might be trying to pop out an eye. What do you make of this, Kenneth?
Uh-oh.
I just aware on that, and yeah, I have the data satellite. It's still showing 1500C. Yeah. There's a convection burst that successfully lined up, and the -80 successfully rolled for full 1 degree of the spiral, which is a sign that it has already had its core well established, that some more convection bursts and more subsidence to the center, and yeah, there we go for the eye.
I mean, it's got that look of an intensifying storm to it, at least as far as I go. It's got good outflow. You can see it there on the southern side. Northern side is a bit restricted due to the wind shear, but overall, it's got everything going for it right now. I mean,
Yeah.
I don't really see any reason why this wouldn't intensify. I mean, it's just a question of will it rapidly intensify or will it slowly
It
intensify?
is, yeah, and pretty significantly. You can see the outflow becomes stronger, which that means a more pressureful, because more efficient convergence low level and upper divergence, which is a basic mechanism of tropical cyclone.
Either way, this thing is tiny though.
Yeah,
Like-
it is very
Like
tiny.
you can see, like north to south, the storm's entire, I guess you could say, central dense overcast to it is only about 4 degrees. In total, it goes from 16 degrees south to 20 degrees south, so it's not particularly large at all, as we've
Yeah.
been saying. But overall, I mean, it's for a small storm, it doesn't look that bad, honestly.
Sims
Yeah, it's not
ADT
bad.
just up to 75 knots just now.
Yeah,
Yeah, pretty
Pretty
reasonable to say
much.
this is intensifying.
yeah. ADT currently just microwave adjustment on, which the intensification trend will be gradual for ADT. Yeah. Well, but some things that it is not that high res solution microwave like GMI, MSR2. You can see like SSMRS, it just cannot see the eye at all. Its radius of maximum width is less than 10 kilo.
All right. If you do have any questions for us whilst we're on the air, oh, I'm up there. I thought I'd be down there, but okay. You can send us a message. Start your message with Force 13 all in text, and it will light up for us on the stream. Of course, our coverage today in partnership with Meteo a Cyclone Maurice. You can find them on Facebook and on YouTube with the latest updates from on the ground in Mauritius, our partners during storms in this region. Shall we take a look at the WSV3 GFS
Yes.
and see what that's saying? Okay, well, first of all, let's just I'm going to go worldwide, have a quick look at what's going on in the US there. That enormous extratropical cyclone, and look at the winds that are going to be blowing up out of that, and the amount of hurricane force winds as it approaches Atlantic Canada there off towards the northeast. Thomas will be talking about that with his team on the US channel later today. So interest there. Head on over to Force 13 US. Let's go around the world then to the Indian Ocean. A lot of clicking to get there. And you can see, with regards to the whole ocean, just how small Batsirai is. This is the initialization, and you can see how this storm compares in size to the Masserine Islands. You know, it's not that big, but let's see what happens with the GFS. There's intensification, the yellow's showing that's hurricane force winds. And then little deviation to the southwest, and then general westward movement. There it is as a high-end category 1, maybe category 2 by that point. And it keeps going frame by frame there and getting bigger with time. The green areas are all tropical storm force winds. So you can see just how large the southern wind field is if anything. If you can't see properly, I'll just circle it. Reunion, tropical storm force winds in there. Although very weak tropical storm force winds, that's right on the borderline. All this area here is only around 40 miles per hour, so it's borderline, and that may not fully happen in your area. And then once the storm gets close to the islands, once again, this is the GFS model run, so it's not necessarily what will happen, but you can see how strong the storm is getting there. That orange zone, let's just see what the winds are. 103 miles per hour, GFS usually lowballs it as well. And with Mauritius there getting some stronger winds, 60 miles per hour, that's over 100 kilometers per hour probably, or around 100 sustained winds in northern Mauritius. Just to get the timing on that, that is late on the 1st, so that is Tuesday, I think. And then on to Rodrigues, which also gets fairly close to 60 mile an hour winds there on Wednesday early morning. And the GFS solution has it strengthening even further on approach to Madagascar, the strongest point there, 105 miles per hour, but again it lowballs the GFS and slams into the island. That is what the GFS model is going with, but there is basically a lot of uncertainty for this whole area. All of that there, uncertainty, and the track could go south, like Matteo France is saying. It could go wobbly in the middle, doesn't really know what to do, like the GFS is saying. Or some models in the past have been going for an even further north track from there to northern Madagascar, which is probably now the least likely, but is still not off the table. But that's my analysis of the models right now on the GFS. Just look quickly around the world at what else might be brewing in the next few days. Indications that towards the end of that 7-day period, here's another tropical cyclone, and that could become a big cyclone as it heads down that way, following Batsirai basically. Long range, uncertain. Could even be a cyclone that forms out of this thing down there. And for our Aussie if I can speak, my Aussie audience, you can see that a potential tropical cyclone very close to the coast, hugging the coast literally really as it heads down that way over the next 7 days, although it is looking more and more likely that that becomes a TC. And then at the end of the 7-day period, another system here, a small one moving through Vanuatu, and it can actually be traced to something that's already there. Join the dots and you can see its track, so that's something to watch for as well. So an active southern hemisphere period is the crux of it all. And obviously we'll be here to cover everything. Back to the team. Who'd like to pick it up next?
I looking at the latest frames on satellite here, and could quite clearly see the eye trying to pop out in the latest frames as of this last frame 30 minutes ago on the screen. Take a look at the center where my mouse is at. That's right about where the eye is going to be. And in those last frames there, it's becoming more evidence that it's right in the external part of the storm. So this is infrared here. That's this image was taken about 30 minutes ago. And here's water vapor. And then this black and white infrared. If I could pull that up. The eye, like I said, is going to be right around here. And it's really getting attacked together quick here. In those most recent frames. Let's see if I can put it onto a loop here without my PC going down the drain. And yeah, if you look in the center of your screen there's the eye right there. Right? It's going to freak out on my PC, but right around where my cursor is, right around here, those last 2 frames, there's the eye.
I think it might be a little bit east of where you were pointing, actually. At least on the last frame. I think Isaac has died, actually. Oh dear. Technical
Here
difficulties there.
indeed.
Rest in peace.
Alferia, you're with us as well. We've not heard from you yet. Anything you'd
I'm
like
tired.
to say?
I will be perfectly honest here. I am not familiar with Southern Hemisphere storms. I can look at one and say, yeah, that's a cyclone, but like anything more complex, I can't really get into. But based on what you all are, what I've been hearing in my half-asleep mind over the past hour, is that this needs to be taken seriously, and that this could easily just blow up like in a blink of an eye. And so, as a result, people should really be on the watch for this in Madagascar and those islands out there, especially with the uncertainty of the forecast. They can go anywhere from the northern tip of Madagascar all the way down to the southern tip. That's where the cone is at right now. So the entire coast of Madagascar needs to be on the lookout for this, even if they aren't in the cone yet.
And I'm just conscious to get everyone a chance to speak. John, is there anything you'd like to mention right now?
Hello. Yeah. It's just as Alferia says, this storm it still looks pretty strong, even though it's a pretty small storm. We'll see how the next few days will pan out
Right.
for the storm.
Your signal's struggling there, John. I'm not sure what's going on. And we've also got Walter on board as well. Hello, Walter.
Hello.
And you were in the comments section earlier on.
Yeah, I was listening because I'm not that free earlier, and I heard somebody say like this is pretty small, and so I was thinking, is Felicia smaller? This is smaller, so I asked the question.
And
Apparently, this storm is actually pretty small.
someone said that I forgot what Ethan said, but someone said that the opposite was true.
That Felicia was
Really?
smaller than this. Felicia is smaller at peak than Batsirai is now, but when they were both at peak, they were pretty close.
Really?
Yeah,
Oh.
no, Felicia was definitely smaller at peak.
Huh, I thought Felicia was larger. I apologize then.
All right.
So what's my fault?
More questions coming in. How strong can Batsirai's second peak be? Name it, anything.
As Kenneth has said it earlier, he said that it can go to like a category 4, and I actually agree with him. Like the conditions are actually very favorable for it to intensify, and I don't know how much will it intensify, but I think a Cat 4 is quite possible actually in this stage.
What I was thinking, when doing a careful peak prediction, is that currently there's a moderate shear conditions, which it rotates up shear against the shear, and then the shear drops further. Shear drops further slowly in the next few days, which it will further favorable outflow, and it will just go boom, and then become a category 4. If you're gonna say the exact number, pretty uncertain, like 10 to 15% uncertainty range. But as a best guess, like anything like I'll say like 125, something like that, maybe even more.
It is
I
hard
don't
to
know.
predict.
Yeah, especially for small systems.
Cloud tops have really ignited in the last hour. You can see this hourly image selection here, and just how much more pink there is in the latest frame.
Yeah. Even in recent frames, there's more. There's some convection blow in the northern quadrants.
And here's the 15-minute imagery on the rainfall estimate tool, as we've not updated the background imagery yet, so that's the very edge of the Himawari 8 scope. It is now out of its scope fully as of this moment. But again, you can see just how it's blown up there just a little bit in the last few frames and what that might signal. Yeah.
Latest frame just came in, so it's about 20 minutes old. I can't screen share since my Wi-Fi decided to go down right now.
Oh, it was
but,
Wi-Fi.
I have it on. Yeah,
I thought your
went
PC
down.
died.
No, I was in the middle of like saying what I was thinking was going on, and it decided to go down on me right mid-speak. So I'm on my phone right now, so I can't screen share, but I posted it in a live chat, and yeah, it's about 20 minutes old, and that's, I mean, if that's not the eye, then that'd be rather shocking. But yeah, it's really getting itself going now.
That's Isaac's image there on the left-hand side. I was just telling you that where you had your cursor at the last frame, that the eye looked like it was further east than that. It's right next to that darkest black.
Yeah, that's what I meant to point at, but I guess it went down as I was gonna do that. But yeah, that has to be the eye right there, right, and right just to the left of those darkest black cloud tops. I would say. So certainly more bad news here.
And those cloud tops around minus 90 degrees. We can continue to take questions. What are the potential damages to the north or eastern coast of Mauritius? Can it turn southwards and pass closer? It certainly can at the moment, and hurricane force winds can't be ruled out.
Yeah, all of Madagascar in general needs to be watching this system very carefully. It could just as likely go more south, or it could just as likely go more north. We just don't know exactly for sure, but we know confidence is, of course, increasing for Madagascar landfall.
Yeah, but just at the minute, what we saw on the forecast, at least from the GFS model, was that the expected intensity at the moment on the northern part of Mauritius is about, you'd probably be safe to say, 100 kilometers per hour sustained winds to be expected there. But with the way it's going, if it goes further south, then that will increase.
Oh yeah, the further south that it goes, the worse it'll be for Mauritius and Reunion, unfortunately.
So more imagery there on the screen. We don't always have as many things to look at in this part of the world as opposed to other areas. I don't suppose there's been any new microwave imagery at all.
Let me go take a quick look here. But I think the last one was probably 3-4 hours ago.
Whilst we wait for that, we'll look at Schwent's imagery. Anything else you'd like to add?
No, actually, just 1 hour ago. Wait. Okay,
really?
I just found microwave 1 hour ago.
All right.
It looks like this. Well, pretty low resolution, but it shows something like this.
Now, I'm a layman really when it comes to this, but it doesn't look all that impressive.
Probably somewhat still like the shear is still moderate, and it takes time to fight against it and to establish the core. Its core to be more stable before the eye just boom. Yeah. But based on the convection roping, it's pretty decent.
It certainly looks quite impressive now on the infrared there, that massive blow up, and then the eastern side more convection now. It's the eastern side that's most likely to struggle, isn't it?
Indeed, because the shear is from the east and northeastern side.
Found a higher resolution version on the Navy website. Let's see if I could get it uploaded here. There it is.
And just more questions about what would be its peak. Again, it's a difficult question. That's probably the most uncertain part about this storm, really. But Thomas, I was giving you an opportunity to speak just before. Was there anything you wanted to mention?
Most major thing I just wanted to mention is that, of course, we're seeing that big blow up of thunderstorms or stronger storms, we call it convection, on the northern side of this system. And basically, this is a clear indicator of a strengthening tropical system, at least to me, because we're starting to see this kind of wrap around and even itself out a little bit with time. So the big indicator and the big takeaway for those of you watching is that we have a strengthening system right now that currently has winds 80 miles per hour officially. It's probably stronger than that now. Even if just a little bit, the storm is certainly strengthening, and by the time the next update comes out, we're certainly going to be seeing a higher intensity. The other thing I'd also say is that we have all indications from microwave and from satellite that I wouldn't be shocked if we see this really begin to bomb out, if you will, as a system in the near future. I think that eye is really going to pop out over the next
Breaking news, Thomas.
few hours. Yes, what's the breaking news?
JTWC have given this T 4.5.
Right.
I'm not sure what that is in miles per hour or not, but that's 1 minute sustained winds.
77 knots.
77. Yeah.
Rounds
So
down
that
to
would be
75.
90 miles per hour.
That would be 85 to 90. Yeah.
And that's
Yeah.
exactly what I would go with if I was them right now.
Yeah.
That the
90
new
is pretty
cone?
good.
Is that a new cone or is the cone shown already?
No, it's
No
a new Dvorak fix. So
Oh,
basically,
I mean the cone. Is the cone updated?
no.
Okay.
No, I don't think it is.
I can't tell what that says. 15Z cone.
That's the latest, I guess.
I don't know if it is a new cone, but let's just show it on the screen just in case.
No, it's not.
There is a cone showing what it was like that when we started the stream, wasn't it?
Yes.
Okay.
But another look at the cone at any rate, showing the storm's expected track over the next 5 days.
Oh, I forgot it was 16Z already. I thought it's still 15Z, and I thought this was a new cone.
Ah, never mind.
It happens.
Sometimes it happens.
Well, we're going to finish up at this point because I think we've covered everything that we wanted to cover here. Just does anyone know here when our next live event, not a live event, but video update is expected?
Next video update on the system is expected to be coming out at about 4 a.m. UTC. So I'm not sure what the
8
time
a.m.
zone
Mauritius.
conversion ends up being. That'd be 8 a.m.
Yes.
Mauritius, yeah. So 8 a.m. Mauritius, that's when the next video update's expected on this system.
And we might have one sooner if it rapidly intensifies, I guess.
Absolutely. On our Facebook and Twitter handles as well, we're going to be having a cone of uncertainty coming out relatively soon. We'll be giving our own graphical version of the official cone there, so you can see in very clear fashion what the intensity is expected to be and where exactly those uncertain areas are. So that'll be coming out around 6 p.m. UTC. And then, of course, yeah, that update at 8 a.m. Mauritius if we don't have one earlier.
Well, thank you, team. Once the storm gets closer to Mauritius, it is likely to be stronger, of course, and we'll be ramping up our live coverage when that happens too. At least I hope so, because I'm actually going away tomorrow. This was planned months in advance, but fingers crossed our team will be able to cope without me. I'm sure they will. And we'll have much more live coverage when the storm nears the islands. But thanks once again to the team and for watching. We'll be back again with more updates throughout tomorrow. But in the meantime, you can find us on social media. Search Force13 on Facebook and Twitter. And of course, stay up to date on our YouTube channel. And subscribe if you haven't already. You should get notifications when our next live events are scheduled and when things pop up, and you can be in the know. But until then, stay safe out there. Although the storm is still some distance away, I suppose now is the real time to start preparing. Have a good evening, and we'll see you again soon.